we've got Timhouthi versus Klein Fast Facts. It's done by Legal Mindset. It's a new attorney YouTuber that I came across. Well, he's a lawyer. I don't think he's an attorney yet, but he does videos, and he's been mainly covering the H3H3 lawsuit with Hassan Orbiters and someone named Frogy, don't know who that is. Someone named Denim, again, don't know who that is. And some other dude, I don't know what their name is. They're streamers I've never watched in my life, but they have been spreading slander and defamation about H3H3 Productions and the ones behind it with Ethan Klein and his wife. A bunch of Reddit moderators have been causing him problems as well. They're part of the suit, and he's going full semi-automatic with them. He's not holding back. This guy, he's tired. He's been involved in a suit too, like over a decade ago. He was sued for transformative content that he created with his wife when they were going over a guy who did skits, and they were just reviewing it, and then the guy saw that they did this, and he attempted to sue them. He attempted to get money from them, about $5,000, demanded it up front, otherwise he was going to sue them. They said no. The community was told about it. They raised money for H3H3 Productions. Thanks to that money that they raised, a year and a half later, the case got passed and H3H3 won. The judge found in favor of them, saying it was without a doubt transformative content and in no way violated any policies or law, as the judge said in the thing. So the guy lost. H3H3 Productions won. It was a huge case in terms of copyright, which set precedents for future takes, especially when it comes to transformative works. So to be clear, this is not the first suit he's been involved in, except this time he's the one doing the suing because he's got the money, the means, and the will. Threaten a man's family, he's going to go after you, and that's what led to this. Honestly, he probably could have tolerated the lack of transformative content from Hassan and the other people, but man, the things those Reddit moderators did and people on Twitter and on Discord, sending a skull to his family's home, wow. Just these guys have no chill button. So Ethan Klein of H3H3 is suing. Simple as that. And this Timhouthi person that they're going to talk about is someone completely different. He's saying he wants to sue Ethan Klein for defamation.
Infamous
but
hot Houthi
no.
pirate dubbed
It won't work.
Timhouthi Chalamet is thinking about suing Ethan Klein. That's right, suing him for calling him a terrorist. We're going to get into
for a little reference, Timhouthi doesn't even live in the United States. He lives way on the other side of the world.
that today on the Legal Mindset. We
can only imagine the cost that would be.
Judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is a fast facts premiere. Give me the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. And I do apologize. I've been a little bit absent. This is my birthday weekend, so I am quite enjoying it. But I'm glad to bring this one here because this is a hilarious one for you guys tonight. So some of you may or may not know who this guy is, who Timhouthi is. Of course, that's slang for this guy.
Yeah, it's the guy in the top corner right here. This dude.
This guy.
He's apparently a Hassan orbiter. You got like his 5-10 minutes of fame with Hassan. And the weird thing is he's apparently wants to sue H3H3 Ethan Klein Ethan Klein said he called him a terrorist. And he says he wants to sue because he thinks that's defamation. But some of the things this guy has said and done, especially along the lines of Hassan down here, has been pretty terroristy. I mean, it's one thing to say things, but, you know, to act on them is a different story. I wouldn't say he's acted, but he's definitely been involved in some shady stuff from what I understand.
Goes online by the name Rashid Al-Haddad. aka Timothy Chalamet, for his resemblance, obviously, to Timothy Chalamet from the movie Dune. And he became famous for really getting circulated in social media as the quote unquote hot Houthi pirate, and for being brought on stream with one Hassan Piker, which had almost no ramifications at all from Twitch. And this was quite a controversy and kind of blew him up on social media, gave him kind of a micro influencer status. Well, of course, as with all people, your 15 seconds of, whether it's fame or shame runs out eventually. At some point, that moment goes away. And his moment was, well, the moment when he was caught on the boat, and he was there, getting a picture on the boat, and that was his moment of fame, and also going on with Hassan. So now he's attempting to kick up a lawsuit. So here he goes. Here, Rashid Al Haddad says, "Why did Ethan Klein say that I am a terrorist even though I am not? I am a Yemeni citizen. By the way, weapons in Yemen are just like phones. Anyone can own them. I want to file a lawsuit against Ethan Klein." So we're going to examine this. Does he have a case? Does he not have a case? Especially in U.S. courts, because I'm going to...
To be clear, in the U.S., you can sue for pretty much anything. It just comes down to how many times you filed suits. There was an incident on YouTube a few years back with this guy randomly filing suits against numerous people, all fraudulent, all fake, in numerous different states. He even got banned from being able to file suits in one state because he did it so much. And he just does it. Anyone who spoke bad about it, he immediately would file against them. And then it would be up to the judge if they were going to throw it out or not. And every single time he got thrown out. And then he went after one person who actually had the means to fight back and did. And it cost him. I mean... The United States, if you have the money, you can pretty much do just about anything as long as it's legal.
Assuming here that he'd be suing Ethan Klein in a U.S. court. Now, we're going to talk about Yemen as well at the end. Of course, I'm not a Yemeni lawyer, but I can tell you exactly about the enforceability of Yemeni law in the United States. Spoiler alert, not good. So we're going to get...
I mean, there's literally, if it's Yemen, where the Houthis are, then it's definitely not something the U.S. says, because they have you sign these pieces of paper when you go to these specific Middle Eastern countries. When you travel there, it literally says, if you get kidnapped or go outside the safety zones of where we tell you to go, the United States is not responsible for anything that may or may not happen to you. That's how crazy it is. And there's people that will take that risk.
Get into it with the analysis. So the first thing you're going to look at is what would be suing for? Well, defamation. And a lot of people on the internet do call other people a terrorist. Now, that is not a word in and of itself per se, that is automatically defamatory. It's not one of those words where it would...
Defamation is... I'm no lawyer, but after all the cases and videos I've seen, there's a pretty clear definition of it. You can even Google it, it'll tell you. But it's literally you defaming somebody in a spotlight over and over and calling them something that they're not. And this has caused financial damage to them or harmed them in some financial way as a result. And I don't think Ethan Klein calling him a terrorist has done that. So he probably doesn't have much of a case.
Would necessarily yet 100% say this is going to go into the camp of defamation. There are certain words that you can say or call people that are more defamatory than others. And there's certain words you can call people that are really not defamatory. If you call people, certain derogatory terms that are just vulgar and they're purely vulgar, but not criminal, they tend to not.
Like, here's a clear definition of defamation. If you hired someone for a service, they performed that service for you, and after that service was performed, they left the home, and then the customer proceeded to post tons of bad reviews about the service that that person provided on numerous websites, defaming the business and the people that worked over and over and over, but it was a lie. That's defamation. Like, that's defamatory. That's slander. That's something that you can get sued for.
Not be defamatory. However, if you're calling someone a criminal, and a terrorist is typically a criminal, that is something that leans on the side of defamatory. So that's what I look at with the analysis of, is a statement defamatory or not? Is it implicating someone as a criminal? When it does, it tends to be more defamatory than not. So that's where that statement generally lands. And there's a lot of people on the internet that are called this day to day. Now, why is this difficult? Well, the standard under New York Times versus Sullivan is malicious, because this guy is undoubtedly a public figure. He puts himself out there on social media. He's very active on social media. He went on a top streamers, stream. So he is a public figure. He's not a private person. So he would be examined under New York Times versus Sullivan standard. So there would need to be malice. So what he says would need to be maliciously untrue. The fact of the matter is, based on photos like these photos, where we see Timhouthi here posing, or Mr. Rashid, posting with the stolen ship. This is a hijacked ship, a confirmed hijacked ship. He actually goes closer to the ship in another video, but you can see it here. He's also posing in what looks like military attire with an AK over here. So looking at this, it gives you a reasonable belief. Looking at this, a reasonable person, a regular person, a normie, a total normie who knows nothing about this, says, wow, this guy could be a terrorist. I'm not sure. I would need more information. And your duty under a duty of malice is not to have all the information, but just based on the information out there, the information you can look at, the information you can find that's readily available, right? You're going to look at that information. Is it malicious to say this guy could be a terrorist? It's possible he could be a terrorist. I think a reasonable person could say that. However, it is possible that he is not legally defined as a terrorist, i.e. he is not personally a member of a group that is...
If you're a member of a terrorist cell, you're most likely on the FBI's radar. And they're looking to either catch you or take you out. That's the usual go-to. If the FBI has you as part of a terrorist cell, then definitely. But I doubt this guy's part of one. It's probably more of a him portraying an act rather than actually doing it.
Is deemed a terrorist, right? He's probably trying to make that argument. He's probably going to say, I'm Yemeni and Klein is criticizing me for Yemeni. Okay, maybe that might even be a fair argument. I'll even entertain that fact, right? Give him a benefit of the doubt for a second. But guess what? He would still lose at a case in the United States because the legal standard is higher. So with the U.S. Legal standard here, the likely result would be a case to be dismissed, right? So the U.S. claim would likely be dismissed either at motion to dismiss or at summary judgment.
And keep in mind, when you're suing for a certain amount of money, it differs from state to state. You can sue in any state, but keep in mind that each state has its own limits on how much you can sue someone for, like how much money, and that's how much they'll get back. It's different in every state. Like with the case with Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, and in the state that he sued her in, he did it for $10 million, but the state maximized the damages to $250,000 on certain things. So yeah, you won't always get the full amount. It's the amount that you're saying is just to draw attention, and whatever's negotiated, if it's settled or if it's ruled in your favor, is determined by the judge.
He would likely, if he brought the case and even had the money to bring the case, they would outright dismiss it, or it would get to summary judgment. They'd say, look, you don't meet the bar you don't meet the level of malice. You really can't prove that Ethan Klein is being malicious and he is lying completely about this. You'd have to put more proof out there that you are definitively not a member of a terrorist group, because at this point, what it seems like is he is grifting off his grift. The quote unquote hot Houthi pirate is grifting off being a sexy terrorist and trying to make terrorism sexy. And if that is what he is marketing himself as, then people would not be mistaken to take himself as a terrorist. So if he's marketing himself as a terrorist, as the kind of bad boy terrorist, the hot bad boy terrorist, the rebel who's fighting back, well, if people interpret you as you market yourself, that's not malicious. Now, it may be all a game. It may be all LARPing. In fact, I think it is. I mean, this person, this individual, looks kind of soft. I think there's a reason to believe that he's not actually a terrorist. He's not actually like a hardened guy. He's out there watching One Piece. He's probably like some, Yemeni weeb, whatever, right? Who just wants to cosplay as a terrorist, right? That would be a reasonable alternative explanation. But guess what? You've marketed yourself as that. You put yourself out as that. So it's hard to put that back in the box. Now, the one thing that could happen, and this is going over to Yemen, is he could get an unenforceable Yemeni judgment or a local tribal court ruling. So in Yemen, there's, as in many countries, it's very, very common, right? There's often customary law, what's called customary law of dispute resolution, meaning the centralized legal system is weak. And that exists in many countries all over the world. Therefore, the customs that are applicable, the local customs, the local ways of life, they can be types of rulings. But getting some local tribal ruling in Yemen is not going to be enforceable in a U.S. court. They're going to laugh at that and toss it out. It's just not going to work. So as much,
it's like when the U.S. does something to Iran, and then Iran puffs out his chest saying the retaliation will be swift and fierce. Or Russia, and they're like, our retaliation will be swift and fierce. Fear our nukes. It's like that. You're puffing out your chest and saying, we will enforce this if you don't listen to us. That's how this always works.
Much as he might have that piece of paper at some point from some Yemeni, local tribal yokel, that's not going to work in the United States.
Ooh, called him a yokel? I mean, I don't know. That sounds defamatory. A whole group of people, man. What are you saying?
Or any big boy country with real legal systems. So that said, likely a social media stunt for attention due to lawsuits trending. What he sees right now and what this guy is trying to do is he's trying to hijack the headlines. Right now, lawsuits are hot. The Klein lawsuit is big, and he wants to clout jack.
It's big because if Ethan decides not to settle and to take each one of them, every single one of them, to court and get a judgment, a summary judgment, then he'll set a precedence. And this has been set before, 10 years ago with the transformative content a judge did with H3H3 Productions. So it can happen again here. There's no doubt.
Back off of that, get back in the algorithm, get trending again, and get attention for his particular causes. And you know what? I understand it. I can't even blame people for trying to hijack the algo. However, I can blame them for making up nonsense lawsuits. And this is absolutely a nonsense lawsuit that would go absolutely nowhere. Let me know what you guys think of Timothy Chalamet versus Klein in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ooh! And you got hit in the ear, dude. I'm surprised his eardrum didn't burst. But yeah, this is a Somali kid, whatever. He's currently stuck in South Korea. He got banned from Japan, and I think he got banned from another country too. He's what we call a nuisance streamer. This guy has a bad history of going to different countries and saying rude and cruel things to the people, vandalizing property, being a general nuisance of a human being, and giving a bad example of good tourists. Because trust me, he's like, it's a 1%. It's less than a 1%. It's like 0.00001%. You get streamers that do this kind of crap, but they do anything for the views. He has been so cocky to the South Korean government, saying they're not going to do anything to him. And I'm curious, darn curious, what his situation is. Because I think South Korea is just trying to drain his funds until he has no choice but to admit that he was a nuisance. He's going to get banned from South Korea. There's no question. And he won't be able to travel there. And chances are he may end up getting a permanent travel ban within the U.S. where he can no longer leave. Which means if he wants to go be a nuisance to people around the U.S., well, unlike the countries he's been in, like Mike Tyson said, you're getting too used to not being punched in the face. I know he said it more subtly and different, but it's such a simple saying. Nuisance streamers. And punched in the eardrum, man. That's where it's like you get clubbed in the face and the nose and the chin, but your face will go numb. But when you get hit in the eardrum, you feel that. That just like that can knock off your balance and everything. Hey there, everyone. If you enjoy this content, like and subscribe and comment down below. Thanks again.